Okay, so what happens with going concern is as follows, guys. I want to just explain how going concern works to you. So first thing that you know is going concern is zero rated. Okay. How do we need to remember whether something can be zero rated or not? On the tag sheet inside the SACA legislation handbook, guys, on the tag sheet that I've given to you, I've asked you to tag the section. If they ever ask you, can you zero rate something? If you have tagged the correct section, it's never ever a problem to do this. Where is it? There we go. By the way, there's the tags for cessation. Here's going concern. Section 11(1)(e). They're the requirements for zero rating. Okay. So if you want to actually just remember how to do everything, there it is. Okay. For zero rating. Okay. But we're more interested in how to account for it. So what I want to do is I want to do a nice simple example and just explain to you how going concern works, because this is the one time when you buy something, you pay out. When you buy something, you give output VAT to SARS, not input. You can't claim input VAT. And I just wanted to show you something. So let's imagine that we buy an asset, going concern, for 115, okay? And it's only 60% VATable. Actually, let's start with 100% VAT. Let's start with 100. So guys, here's SARS's bank account. And what will happen? There'll be 15 Rand output paid across to SARS, 15 Rand input. And if both parties are 100%, SARS ends up in a net null position. And that's why they say a going concern can be zero rated. Now, I want to show you something. Let's imagine that the buyer is only 60% VATable. The guy sells it, and we're doing the SARS bank accounts again. And what will happen? SARS will collect 15 Rand VAT. And what's going to happen? You're only 60% VATable, so you can only claim 60% of 15 Rand, which is 9. And what is SARS going to have? SARS has 6 in the bank. Okay. Now, do you understand that there's a problem if you zero rate this, because SARS is not going to have 6 in the bank? So I just want to do something else with you. I want to just say the seller, he collects 115 Rand and he pays 15 Rand across to SARS. So he gets 100 Rand. The buyer pays 115 Rand, claims 9 Rand input. Therefore, he's got 106 Rand cost. Now, that is if the transaction is not zero rated. Okay. If the transaction is not zero rated. So here's the rule. If we zero rate and buy is not 100% VAT, buyer pays output VAT of exempt percentage times by VAT to SARS. So let me just explain. So what's the exempt percentage in this question? He's 60% VATable, so what's the exempt percentage? 40% times 15 Rand is 6 Rand. So let me explain what's going to happen if it is zero rated, guys. Because the buyer has to pay VAT of the exempt percentage times VAT across to SARS, what's going to happen is if you zero rate the transaction, the seller will sell for 100. There's not going to be any VAT on it because we take the 15 Rand VAT off. And how much is the seller going to be on? 100. Have a look here. 100, 100. What's going to happen from a buyer's perspective? He's going to pay 100 to seller. He's going to pay 6 to SARS. Why? Because when it's zero rated and the buyer is not 100% VATable, the buyer has to pay output VAT to SARS of the exempt percentage times VAT to SARS. So in this case, 6 Rand. And what's the total cost to the buyer? 106. And if you didn't zero rate, what is the total cost to the buyer? 106. So what you should understand is when you zero rate a going concern, buyer pays exempt percentage times by the VAT that would have been charged across to SARS. So it is the one time when you're buying something that we have output VAT, not input VAT. So the buyer pays output VAT to SARS and does not claim input VAT from SARS. And if you don't understand this, there will be a video up for you to have a look at. And by all means, have a look at that video. Okay. And if you want to see how hard a question can be asked on this, the hardest possible question you could ever find generally on this is this VAT question on going concern that you will be able to go and access. I will put a solution in there for you so that you know how that works. Okay. And if you've got any problems with going through the solution, just have a look at the video. Guys, leasehold improvements. Guys, there's special rules for leasehold improvements. So I just want to go through and do that with you now.